We are live. We're just waiting for a couple of the streams to go up, and we'll be ready to go. Thank you for your patience. All right, looks like some stuff is up. Awesome. All right, so today we're going to go over the Sweet 16 preview, the West and the South regions. This is Levr Live. These games are all going to be played on Thursday. There's only 4 games on the board, but honestly, I don't think there's any bad game here in the bunch. I think they should all be good for different reasons. I'm Caz. I'm joined by VolumeBets. Kurt, if you want to give yourself a little introduction, tell everybody what you do, who you are.
Thanks for having me. I'm VolumeBets. I do the $1 to $1 million challenge on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all that fun stuff. And I'm a betting guy.
What's your record right now?
The record is almost even. We're at $1,527.25. I had a bad day yesterday. So we dropped like 30 or 40, but up above 1,500.
That because of a big upset, maybe?
It was Florida. I had a sizable bet on Florida, Houston, and Arizona to make the Sweet 16, and Florida killed that.
Yeah, that was probably, I would agree that was probably a safe bet until yesterday when Florida let us all down. Let's get moving here. We'll go to game 1. We got Purdue and Texas, West region. Purdue's the favorite, -7.5 right now. Over-under sitting around 149.5. Texas, an 11 seed. Highest seed left. Can they knock off another favorite, or is there march over, or maybe they keep dancing? What's your thoughts, Kurt?
This is an interesting one. Texas are talented, as we've seen, but they're a bit sloppy here and there, and they don't shoot super, super well. And it's a Purdue team who offensively can run up and down, and defensively is not very good. So theoretically, we should get a high-scoring game here. Purdue have started the tournament like on fire from 3, and the 3 discrepancy has been humongous for them so far. They're shooting almost 60% from 3 in the first 2 games, and their opponents are shooting around 27% from 3, which is just a natural thing that should drop at some stage. And they were kind of tight with a Miami team that's athletic, and Miami were in a really ugly spot there and still kind of push Purdue. I mean, Miami played the late game, whether it was Thursday or Friday, and then had the early noon game a day and a half later. So it was a really awkward spot for Miami, who hung for a really long time there. And again, Purdue are just shooting the 3 super, super well so far in the tournament. So if that, comes down to earth just a little bit, I think there's a world where Texas could win this game. I'm going to take the talent of Purdue. I'm going to take the offensive talent here because there's still some stuff with Texas I don't love. But this should this should be a game. I don't expect a blowout or anything.
Yeah, I agree. I really like Purdue here. Not by a lot. I think this could be a close game. Texas is obviously on a roll. I mean, this Purdue team's won 6 in a row. They look like, I think they were like the preseason, like a title contender in the preseason. They got Brandon Smith, Fletcher Lloyd, Trey Kaufman, Wren. I mean, they're all 4-year players. So, I mean, they're running this offense. It ranks second nationally in the Ken Palm. But Texas has for sure been the tournament's best Cinderella, I think. I mean, they had to play a first 4, so they had to beat NC State. Then they knocked off a BYU team that arguably had probably the best player in the country on their team. And then a Gonzaga team that's always good every single year. So, yeah, they don't mind playing as the underdog. But I just think that Purdue it's just going to be a little bit too much talent-wise for them.
And Purdue were betting favorite before the season started to win the whole thing. So
okay, that's okay. I have
talent's
that.
definitely there. Yeah, talent's definitely there, and the experience is definitely there.
Yep. All right. Let's go to our next matchup, which is going to be the Nebraska Cornhuskers versus the Iowa Hawkeyes in the South region. Nebraska's the early favorite, -2.5. The over-under is 133.5. Now, this game, I can't wait for. It's going to go down to Houston for this one. Nebraska's going to be in the Sweet 16 for the first time in program history. First tournament wins ever this year, and now they're 2 games from the Final Four. On the other side, Iowa just took down the defending national champions. So do we got an Iowa team that believes they can beat anybody, or do we have a Nebraska team that thinks they're on a destiny run? What do you think, Kurt?
Yeah, this is a fun one. The crowd, we were talking before, I think the crowd has a genuine chance to be pretty nutty here. It was really crazy in Oklahoma City for Nebraska. They broke like the stadium's like loudness record. And if you've seen some of those Thunder playoff games, you know it's like outrageously loud there all the time. It's the best one in the NBA. And for Nebraska fans to go in there and break a record like that was, it's not something that happens lightly. And Houston's not super, super far away from Nebraska. Iowa don't get here very often either and should have fans travel their way. The first 2 games, Iowa won this one at home, 57-52 the first time. And then Nebraska won theirs at home, 84-75 in overtime. That one was really tight. I personally like Iowa here to win this one. I think they match up physically they're just way more physical. And Nebraska really struggled with this with Vanderbilt. Nebraska beat Vanderbilt hitting some timely shots, some timely threes and stuff like that. But physically, they were really, really struggling with Vanderbilt. And if that game probably goes another 20 minutes, I mean, most likely Vanderbilt wins that pretty comfortably in the end. But the physicality, I think, of Iowa inside on the wings should cause problems here. They don't have issues with traveling bigs. Nebraska are going to stretch you out and stuff like that. Iowa have the players who can guard on the perimeter at any position, so I think they'll be okay there. And if Nebraska are just not hitting, that 45% mark from 3, I think Iowa kind of break them down as the game goes along, and I think they get over the line.
Yeah, we were talking about this Nebraska fan base that took the short trip to Oklahoma City compared to what most fan bases have to do in the tournament. And that definitely seemed like it was a big boost for them. I didn't think they played particularly well. They did shoot timely. They shot 56% from the floor versus Vanderbilt. But if they didn't shoot so well from the floor, they were going to be in a hole. I feel like the crowd, it's going to come down to the crowd. And I think that's why I'm going to give the nod to Nebraska, but I think this one's going to be super close. I mean, both teams won during the regular season. This is a Big Ten rivalry game that we get to see in the tournament, which is kind of cool. Fred Hoiberg, I believe, is a Nebraska guy. I think his grandfather or father used to coach at Nebraska. And now his son's the starting point guard. It's kind of got like a family tie-in. It's kind of like a great story, almost a Disney-esque story. But I like Nebraska enough by a hair. I think the fans are going to really help them. But after that, I think their run's going to end. I think the fairy tale is going to come to a halting stop. But I like them versus this Iowa team, not by a whole lot. I like it. I mean, -2.5. That might be free throws at the end of the game. That makes a difference in that. But that's what I like for this game is Nebraska. Next, I got number 1 Arizona versus number 4 Arkansas in the West region. They're going back to San Jose on CBS that night. Arizona's the number 1 seed in that side of the bracket. They're 34-2 on the season. They're ranked number 1 in the Ken Palm. They're going up against a John Calipari Arkansas Razorback team. The over-under is 166.5, which is crazy high. It's the highest total in the entire Sweet 16. Kurt, I think you're going to agree. This thing's probably going to be a track meet.
Yeah, this should go back and forth. Arizona are good in that they don't care what kind of style you want to play because they can do whatever. They can play in the half court. I think they'd prefer to get out and run. I mean, they're filled to the brim with elite athletes, so I think they'd prefer to get out and run like Arkansas would. And Arkansas only play to get out and run. Like, they're going to go. So I expect it to be up and down. And Arizona have had a couple of these games this year. They put up 93 on Florida, 97 on Auburn. They put 96 up on Alabama. Like, they have no issues going up and down with anybody. And as much as I kind of like Arkansas in the idea that, Acuff is the best player on the floor here. He's incredibly difficult to guard. He doesn't guard anybody. I mean, that High Point game went up and down because Acuff couldn't guard and the guy guarding Acuff also couldn't guard. So they were just both attacking the rim and getting whatever they wanted. I expect a little bit of that here. But as much as I like Arkansas, I like the athletes. There are just so many possessions with Arkansas when Acuff doesn't have the ball where their offense is just really gross. They kind of try and do some of that overpower stuff, which is not going to happen here. You're not going to be more athletic than Arizona are here. They go through these stretches where they don't shoot the three particularly well. Some of the big guys take some bad shots. Some of the bigger guys take some contested threes and stuff like that. And I think that little stuff is what gets Arizona over the line here. The spread's pretty high, 9.5. I'm not so sure Arizona cover that number. But I think they make enough good plays that they stick out ahead of Arkansas. I'm probably not going to bet either side here, but again, 9.5 seems like a bit, but also the way Arizona play, the way they shoot, if they hit a couple threes, I think this can also kind of get out of hand just with the pace. So I like Arizona, but should be a fun one for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I like Arizona. I think it's going to be fun. Acuff has the ability to keep this close, maybe even steal one. My biggest thing with Arizona, they're the number 2 overall seed in the tournament. Like I said, number 1 in the Ken Palm, 3rd-rated defense, 4th-rated offense. They're 8 guys deep. They score over 15 fast break points per game. That's in the 97th percentile. They get to the free throw line. 72 attempts through 2 tournament games. They've been to the free throw line. I watched them play in person. They can play any style defense. They could push it a ton. The one killer for them is that if for some reason they start off slow and they need to rely on the three, they don't shoot a lot of threes. Not that necessarily they're a bad shooting team. They just don't shoot a lot of them. They do have the Big 12 Player of the Year. They have some. He's got some, and that's in Jaden Bradley. He's got some great guys around him. Koa Pete, Braden Burris, Krivas, who's the big man. But this Arkansas team, they got Acuff. He just came out from having 36 points and 6 assists against High Point. I mean, some people think he's the best player remaining in the field. I think he's gonna be he's got to be a top 10 pick. And this is John Calipari. Him in the Sweet 16s at no surprise. That's just something that he's been in forever, it seems like. The concern for the Razorbacks, they don't play great transition defense, and Arizona's going to want to go. I like Arizona. I agree. I don't know if they could cover that 9.5, if that's what it's at now. The 166.5 could very well come into play, though. If this turns into a game where nobody wants to play any defense, There's a very good possibility that does come into play for this game. And then finally, go ahead. I'm sorry, Kurt.
Sorry, I was just gonna make a point or two. You're right on Arkansas. Just their transition D it's almost like an effort thing. We saw it a little bit against High Point, where God knows how many rebounds turned into just fast breaks with just one ball over the top. And Arizona are probably the next team. Spoke about Florida, who they were the most vulnerable one because they can't make threes and they don't take threes. Arizona can make them, but again, if they're not shooting super, super well, they're the next one that's like, hey, if they have a bad shooting night, they're going to have a bit of an issue. Like Michigan and Duke, like, play such good defense that, like, they could have a bad shooting night and they're probably still going to be there. Arizona having a bad shooting night is probably just the next most vulnerable one.
Yeah, I agree. That could be a dagger for them as they're shooting, especially if they need to come back. We're moving right along here. We're in the final game of these four that are going to be played on Thursday. We're going to get the Houston Cougars, number 2 in the South region, versus number 3, the Fighting Illini of Illinois. I'm excited for this game. I think this game is going to be. It might not be a fast pace game, but I think this is going to be just super tight. It, like I said, I think it might be the best matchup in the entire Sweet 16. Houston's 30-6. They've made the Sweet 16 or better the last 7 years, and that's under Kelvin Sampson, their coach. They lost in the national title last year, so they might want a little bit of revenge. And by the way, they're playing at home, pretty much. They're practically playing at home. They're playing at the Toyota Center in Houston. But their opponent is not a team to sleep on. Who do you like here, Kurt? Maybe you got a little bit more info on why this Illinois team might not be a team to sleep on, really.
Yeah, the Illinois are super, super good on offense, like ultra talented. They can shoot from anywhere. They can score in a variety of different ways. So they're going to get their points most likely. But this probably just comes down to how well Houston shoot. Like, they've been, like, I expect the defense to be good enough to kind of keep Illinois from reaching their normal, like, 80 or whatever they do. The Houston defense is so good. Like, if you're one of those people who doesn't think defense is, like, entertaining, I urge you to go watch the last 10 minutes of, like, the Houston A&M first half, because it's awesome. Like, they switch on everything. They offer help from the weak side almost exclusively. The rotations are perfect. It's, like, incredible to watch, which makes me think that Illinois offensively won't be their normal offensive selves, to their normal extent. As I said, I think they're going to get their points. Problem is Illinois aren't super great defensively. So if Houston are getting shots, decent shots, they're going to make them. Like, they have a couple guys who can shoot threes. Flemings can, he's like SGA of the college level. He takes a lot of those mid ranges, makes a good chunk of them. They can score at the rim. So I think they have a variety of ways to score here. It's just if their shots are falling. But I think they're going to get open opportunities, and I think they're going to do enough defensively for Illinois. Illinois, if, again, they're good enough offensively to win this that way on their own, I just love this Houston defense so much, and I think it can slow down this Illinois offense. So I kind of like Houston here. I bet Houston yesterday. So I think they get over the line, but this should be the best game of the round.
I agree. I'm also going to back Houston here. A lot of the same reasons. They've won both their first 2 games of the tournament by 30-plus points. They just suffocate teams. They haven't allowed an opponent to score over 30 points and a half so far. They have, I think, probably, as far as backcourt goes, with experience and how well these guys play together, probably the best battle-tested backcourt in this tournament left. Illinois is going to have some firepower. Keaton Wagler is a great player. Andrzej Stojakovic, Page's son, he can really fill it up. I think they got like 7 reliable scorers for this Illinois team, so they can kind of get it from anywhere. Those two guys will kind of be like their main guys, but somebody can come off the bench or another starter could contribute, which could maybe make this something. I just think that Houston's defense is just too good, and they're just gonna turn over Illinois enough that they're going to get frustrated. It's going to take them a little out of the game. I think that it's a 3.5 point favorite for Houston. I actually like them to cover that. I think they're going to frustrate this Illinois team. I'm not going to touch the over under because you just never know what you're going to get without a Houston offensively. But I actually do like them to cover in this game.
Houston, you said they were like, there was 7.5 minutes left in that A&M game in the first half, and the score was 25-24, and that went into the break 46-28. Like, they just ended that half on a 21-4 run, and then still won the second half by 13, like outright. Like, once the defense figures you out, it's really, really difficult to kind of get around it.
Yeah, and I think that goes to their experience. Like, you're right. Once these guys get you figured out, it's gonna be a long night unless you switch up stuff at halftime, and maybe this Illinois team can do that. That's the only way you're probably gonna figure out at least how to slow down the defense a little bit, which sounds crazy. Generally, trying to slow down an offense, but you're right. Once their defense figures you out, you're in big trouble. So let's do a quick rundown. Kurt, who do you have for your picks again? And then who do you like making it to the Final Four out of those picks?
The West region, I think, is Arizona. I like Arizona and Purdue to meet, and then I like Arizona pretty comfortably in that game. I think somewhere along the line, Purdue kind of just get waxed, and I don't think it comes versus Texas. So I do like Arizona to kind of just, I mean, they're so much bigger than Purdue. They're going to score on Purdue. Everybody scores on Purdue, but they're so much bigger than Purdue, and they're going to run up and down. I really, really like Arizona in that game. I'm not sure what the spread would end up being, but would be happy to lay on that one. And then in the other region, I like Iowa to beat Nebraska. I just think the physicality gets them over the line there. And then I like Houston. And then I like Houston to kind of just suffocate Iowa a little bit there. They can hang physically. They're probably going to out physical them. And I'm not so sure there's anybody like Starks is having like a pretty bad stretch here shooting wise. And this Houston team does not let up free 3-pointers. Their rotations are so excellent. So I like Houston to kind of get away from Iowa as well. So Houston and Arizona.
Yeah, we're kind of in the same spot. I really liked Purdue to move on, and I also like Arizona to move on. Then I like Arizona to pound Purdue. I agree with everything you said. Arizona, I think, is just too much. I think they look too good. I think they had a bad week in like mid-January and really haven't looked back since. Outside of that week, I don't even know if they've lost a game this season. And they don't look like they're looking to lose one. They've looked pretty sharp these first 2 games. And then in the South region, I think if Houston gets by Illinois, I think they easily get to the Final Four. I don't think Nebraska or Iowa could really test them. I do have Nebraska winning a razor-thin game against Iowa. But if Houston advances, they're playing their hardest game of their bracket before they get to the Final Four on Thursday. Should be a great game. But when Houston moves on from that, they'll be in the Final Four. It's a lock. I mean, I would be absolutely shocked, more shocked than I was when Florida lost last night, if Houston were to drop that game.
Yeah, I agree. I think, yeah, if I were to beat out Houston, which is an infinitely better or worse matchup for Iowa, then yeah, I'd be pretty stunned.
All right, that's everything we got for tonight. We'll be back on Wednesday. We'll do the other two. We'll do the Midwest in the East portion of the Sweet 16. We'll cover those on Thursday, on Wednesday. Once again, these games are for Thursday night. The ones that we're going to cover on Wednesday will be for Friday night, and then we're giving you our final 4 picks. So if we're right, which I think we did pretty good in the round of 64. I don't really think we missed anything. Maybe Texas? Was Texas the only one we kind of didn't see? I feel like one of us was at least on any underdog that won.
Right. There weren't that many either. Like 4 of them came day 1, and that was it, right? The second day there were 0, so there weren't that many. So I imagine we had someone there, and I was pretty heavily favorite throughout most of it, so we should have got most of them.
Yeah. I feel like we did pretty good if you listened to us. I think the only one that would have got us is if High Point would have pulled off that upset versus Arkansas. We did not have that. I know that for sure. That one might have caught us, for sure.
Yeah.
And I guess we didn't have Florida, so I could take that back. Neither one of us had Florida losing.
Oh, right. That's the second round, though.
Yeah. All right. Well, everybody, thanks for listening. Once again, we'll be back on Wednesday to go over the games that are going to be played on Friday. We'll give you our picks throughout the weekend, who we believe is going to be in the Final Four. Make sure to check us out at levr.bet. Levr.bet. We got ourselves a nice little $5,000 prize pool going on for March Madness. Just go make some bets. You're automatically entered. Make sure to follow VolumeBets on Twitter and Instagram. Do you have the same socials for both?
Yeah, Twitter is VolumeBets and Instagram is volume.bets.
Perfect. Thanks, Kurt. As always, signing off. We'll see everybody on Wednesday.